My name is Rachel from Rad Pilates. Today we will be doing some movement with a resistance band. The one I'm using is a TheraBand and it is 6 feet long. Find whatever TheraBand works for you. Sometimes it takes a little bit of trial and error and different attempts to figure out which one works for us. So we're gonna get started sitting. If you don't have a long box, you are more than welcome to sit on a chair or on the floor. Do what works for you. I like lifting myself up a little bit for the elevation for my knees. So the first thing that we're gonna do is sit on top of the resistance band at about the middle part. So I'm gonna lay this down and then I'm going to sit on top of the TheraBand. After we're seated on the TheraBand, let's take the right side, bring it across our body into our left hand. And I have my elbow bent and my forearm is across the front of my body. I can do anything with this hand. I can let it rest. And then from here, I'm gonna start by reaching out my forearm with my hand out and away from my body. And then I'm gonna bring it back in. As I'm doing this, I'm figuring out how taut or how much resistance I want with this. I can loosen it up or I can tighten it up. If you don't have enough of the band, just scoot the band over so you have more band to work with. If it's across your body and you find that it's just loose, that's fine. It's gonna come out of the resistance for a moment and then you're in the resistance again. So we're bringing the arm across our body and then away from our body. Inhaling and exhaling. Maybe 1 to 2 more. See what works for you. And then if you'd like to add on to this, so we're gonna bring the arm out to the side and then from our thoracic, we're gonna rotate over to that side. And then coming back, unwinding that arm. And again, reaching out, add that rotation, and then coming back forward. As I rotate, I like to think about keeping my eyes and my gaze in line with the front of my chest as I'm turning. If you'd like to turn even more and look behind you, that's fine. Do what works for you, explore the movement. When you're in your next rotation, see what it'd be like to reach the arm out. Then bend that elbow back in, bring it back in. And again, across the body, rotate, reach out, bring that back in. Last one. We're gonna reach, rotate, and then reach again. Unwinding. From here, I'm gonna put that side down and I'm gonna reach over to the other side and bring it across my body. I'm gonna start with it a little loose and then I'm going to reach across my body first and bring it back. Inhaling, prepare. Exhaling, move. Do what works for you and move at a pace that works best for your body and decide how much resistance or how little resistance you'd like to use. All of these can be done without this prop as well. Next time we bring our arm out, let's add that rotation. Let's come back to that start position and then bring our arm back. And again, arm goes out to the side, rotating. Bring your gaze with that rotation, come back to center, and then bring the arm back. This time, after we rotate, let's reach that arm out, pulling that back arm back in, coming back to that start position. Again, rotating, reach, arm comes back in, and then last one, rotating and reach, coming back in. As we're sitting here, let's grab for both ends and decide how taut we want it. Do we want this a lot tighter? We're going to be lifting our arms up. So I like to leave a little bit of give and then I figure out how much tighter I'd like to make it after I go through the movement. So I'm gonna lift my arms up and then bringing them down. As I'm lifting them up, I like to create a little bit of space around my head, but I'm not forcing my shoulders anywhere. I'm letting my shoulders get some movement, maybe softening them in my back a little bit, but I'm also not trying to hyper focus on that. I'm more about focusing on what is that comfortable range as I move. From here, arms are lifted up. Let's get some movement of the shoulder in this range. Lifting and lowering, lifting and lowering. Arms come back down. This time when the arms are up, let's leave them up and let's bring the arms out to the side. I just imagine that my neck is growing longer every time I do this. And then I'm gonna reach up and lifting up. And then again, reaching up. Arms go out to the side, maybe getting a little bit of upper spine extension. And then last one. Wonderful. From here, we're gonna be moving a little bit. So let's take the band and bring it behind our rib cage. And at first, you might need to have it a little bit tighter, but after you get into that position, you might want to adjust. So know that there's always room for adjusting as you're using the band. It's also a giant rubber band, so, you know, just recognize that it's a giant rubber band. And from here, we're gonna reach the arms out, and then as they're out, let's rotate over to the right. Let's lift up. Let's lower down. Let's think rounding, but it's more of the upper back. And then we're gonna lift back up into that start position, come through center. We can always take a break at any moment. Do what works for you. Inhaling, prepare, exhaling out, going to the other side. We're gonna lift up, and then we're rounding that upper back. Lifting back up through center, coming back to that start position, letting the arms rest for a moment. Let's reach the arms back out again. From here, let's come forward over our legs, rounding. And then from here, we're stacking back up. Head is the last to arrive. Feel free to lift the arms up if you'd like. And then coming over the legs again, any amount that feels comfortable. As we're down here, maybe you bring one arm down, one arm up as you lean to the arm that's down. Coming back over the legs, going to the other side. Coming back through center, lifting back up, reach. Arms come back down. From here, we're gonna move on to another position. I'm using the box, but you don't need to use the box if you don't want to. So I'm gonna start out in an all fours position on top of here. You don't need to be up here. I kind of like the give it has for my knees. So I am going to have the TheraBand down. So it's in this position where both sides are down, and I'm putting my hands down on. I like to have the TheraBand sort of resting a little bit between my thumb and my pointer, and I'm pressing that palm down. So I'm holding it sort of like this. And that hand that I'm pressing that down in, that's gonna be the hand that I focus on keeping that connection to the ground. The other arm, I'm going to give it a little bit more slack so that I can have a little bit more band to work with. I'm gonna check in with my head and neck for a moment. I like to figure out a gaze in a place that works for me. So I like to move between lowering and lifting my head a few times, and then lifting and just checking in for a moment. The next place I like to check in with are my ribs and my back, and then even trying to get a little bit of my shin to connect, because if not, I'll kind of lean forward. From here, my arm's gonna go straight out to the side in a T, and then back in. And again, inhaling, exhale, reach, lower that arm, lift that arm. Inhaling and exhaling on your own time, continuously, breathing at your breath pattern. And then from here, the arm's gonna go back in line with the body. And my mic receiver fell, that's okay. And then lifting back in line with my body maybe 2 more times. And then once it's back and it's lifted, I'm gonna bend and straighten out that elbow. This is when I have to even more focus on where my head and neck are. And these are arbitrary, so you could do 5, you could do 8. Do as many or as little that works for you. We're gonna go to the other side. I'm going to reposition facing the other way so you can still see. Inhaling, exhaling, reach that right arm out to the side, bringing it back in. And again, exhale, lift. Inhale, lowering. Those are suggestions. Breathe in whatever pattern you would like to. Going for as many that you feel comfortable doing. Maybe 3, maybe 6, maybe more, maybe less. And then my arm's gonna come in line. When I'm here, I'm really focusing on reaching through that wrist, noticing if I'm bending through there, reaching out. This next time my arm is up, I'm gonna bend and straighten from that elbow, kicking that arm back behind me, checking in with my gaze, checking in with where I'm at, balancing on all of these 3 limbs that are still on. And then I'm gonna take a moment here and go into some cat-cows and just sort of resettle in my body, reconnect with my breath. And then from here, let's come up for a moment. Remember, if you need to have a drink of water, pause, go get a drink of water, go to the bathroom, do what works for your body. It's good to take breaks as much as possible. So I'm gonna move this out of the way for the next part. So let's come down to the floor, and we're going to have the TheraBand in this halfway folded position. We're gonna take the top part of the TheraBand and we're gonna hold that in our hand while this looped part goes around the arch of our foot. So I'm putting that on the arch of my foot to start. And then the same side leg that I'm putting my arch into, I'm putting the 2 ends in my palm, and it's across that same area where it's the thumb and the pointer. And then I'm gonna put that down and I'm back in my all 4s. And you can always bring an elevated surface like the long box and have your forearms on that instead. Just do what works for yourself, and remember, less is more. So from here, we're gonna reach that leg back behind us and then bring it back in. If you're immediately like, oh, that's not enough, tighten up on this, make it more taut, and then reach back out. Bending and straightening from that knee. Notice how much you're leaning to one side. Can you get a little bit more into that other arm? And this next time, leave the leg up and then bend and straighten. It's going to move. It's kind of awkward. It's kind of fun. I like it. But again, it's a giant rubber band, so be a little careful. So I'm gonna switch to the other foot. I'm bringing my other foot in through that loop and switching hands. From here, reaching out with the other leg, bending and straightening. This next time, I'm gonna leave my leg out and bend and straighten from the knee, bringing the heel towards the body and away, maybe 1 to 2 more, and then bringing that down. Sitting down for a moment, let's readjust where we have our band, and let's take it underneath both of our feet, and let's sort of bring our hands a little bit closer up so it's pretty taut. From here, I'm gonna press down in my seat and lift up through my body. And from here, I'm pulling my elbows back, reaching them forward. Inhaling, reach, exhaling, pull. Maybe going for 5 to 6 of these. Having a lot of energy, reaching out of the legs as well as the crown. And then from here, instead of the elbows coming in towards the body, let's pull the elbows out and away. Playing around with this. What is this like for the back body? When you come back, is there a moment where you can kind of connect the back shoulders and then bring them back away from each other? Is there a sensation underneath the armpit and the lat serratus? Where is the connection for you? What is the sensation? Just checking in. There's no right or wrong. I'm going to now straighten out my legs a little bit more. We can always leave them bent. And I'm gonna ask Sugar if she can just leave for a moment. I'm sorry, Sugar, I will cuddle with you soon. Or could you sit here? This is a great spot. Okay, she's over it. And then from here, I'm going to round over myself first and then lead with my sacrum low back to come down. Once I'm down, I'm going to shake my head and just take a moment to arrive here on my mat through a few breaths. Next time I inhale, I'm going to exhale, lifting up the head, pressing into the back body, and then I'm going to start raising my arms up, lifting, 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 coming over my body, and then stacking up. And again, I'm going to round over myself to start, and then coming all the way down, giving myself a moment at the bottom. Exhale, pressing the back body, lifting up and over, stacking up. From here, we're going to take our feet out of that for a moment, and we're going to lower down and come down to the mat, and then retake the TheraBand or resistance band and bring it across the hips. I'm going to have my arms stretched out a little bit away from my body so I can press my whole hands and arms down. I'm going to decide how taut I want this, how much resistance. And then from here, I'm pressing into my hands, pressing into the back of my shoulders and feet. And then I'm going to lift into my bridge any amount. And then from here, I'm lowering back down. As we lift up, I like to have a little bit of feeling that my knees are driving out and away from me on a high diagonal, but I'm also pulling my heels towards my butt. Even though I'm not moving them, there's a sense that the heels are coming towards my butt as my knees drive away. And then again, lifting up, lowering down. If you'd like to add on to it, bring one leg into tabletop, lift into your bridge, lower, switch legs, lift, lower. Alternate as many times as you'd like, or stick with a baby bridge or whatever size bridge you'd like to work with. Take another round, maybe 1 to 2 if that works for you. I'm taking a little break instead of just saying, hey, if you want to do another one, I don't feel like it right now. So I'm going to bring my feet back in and get my feet back into the TheraBand. I'm going to then press my heels. Maybe they're together, maybe not, but then my toes are on this external position out and away from me. And then that external is at my ankles, knees, and in my upper legs going into my pelvis. Everything's sort of wrapping out and around. From here, I'm going to lower onto a little bit of a diagonal. And I'm going to decide if I want my forearms down. I mean my elbows and my upper arms down. I could leave my forearms up. I could even work here. I kind of just like to have my upper arms. And then lowering to a position that feels sustainable, bend the knees and then straighten those legs out. And again, bending in, reaching out and away, and then bending back in. As you're bending in and out, can you refine that wrap, especially in the upper thighs? Coming out and around. And then this next time, leave the legs out. You're going to remove, if you'd like, one leg. We're going to go into a scissors-like movement where one leg's going to go up and down within the band as the other one is not. Going for a few more if that feels okay to you. And then the legs are going to come together because we're going to switch and have the other leg in the band. That's why not doing too many reps is good, especially right here, because we're going to do the other leg. And then bring the legs back together. From here, let's bring the heels together, the knees apart. We're in this diamond shape. So the knees are together and we're really bent in. I'm going to use this diamond shape to come up into a teaser. From here, I like to get a little bit of hip lift and then coming up into this teaser shape. And then I'm going to roll back down. And again, inhaling, exhaling, lift the head, rolling through the body, redistributing my weight forward. And then again, lowering down, keeping track of where sugar is, and then again, lifting back up. Could always stretch the legs out more as you pull the band. Remember, this is a giant rubber band, so I don't want to let go here because I would probably hit myself in the face, and I don't want to do that. And then lowering back down. From here, I want you to help yourself back up. I'm going to turn myself to my side and push myself up to seated. And then from here, decide if you want to be standing or sitting. I'm going to sit for this one, but if you'd like, by all means, stand up. I'm going to bring my arms above me in this half moon shape, and I'm going to go to one side in my side bend, really trying to ground that opposite hip down, lifting up through center, coming to the other side. Moving from one side to the other. Maybe 1 to 2 more times. Do what works for you. And then last one. And coming back up. Whew. So this was a short session that was all about getting just a little bit of movement with the TheraBand. The TheraBand packs a punch. I don't think that's the best way to say that. I think it sort of makes any of the movements for me get feedback a lot quicker. And I also like the added closed chain of certain movements. So let me know what you think. Did this add to the work at all for you? And was there anything that we did that felt especially good? If so, let me know in the comments, and we will do more TheraBand stuff in the future. So I hope you have a really good day, and I can't wait to move with you again soon. Bye.